that one on.
Welcome to Photography Chat with Merlin. Photography Chat with Merlin.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Photography Chat. I'm here with Ian in the studio. We're season 3 and episode 37 something. I can't remember which one we're at now. But welcome to the studio, Ian.
Thank you. Here I'm just trying to. This is my first time I think ever being a part of some live Instagram thing, so I'm just posting it up and like, hey, check this out. We're doing this. So
No worries, man. That's all good.
All right. Yeah, let's see if anyone shows up.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool, man. All right, back to it.
Get you just a little bit closer.
Okay. Let me know when we're dialed.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you want to take a moment to let people know about you?
Yeah, sure, man. I'll try and do like a quick Cole's Notes introduction. So my name is Ian Azariah. I'm a photographer. I work here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, which we are currently recording live from. Been here in this city for I think about 11 years now. Always, I guess, quote, been a photographer, I guess, you
That's
know.
fair.
And yeah, I mean, I'm just a dude who enjoys cameras, and I've been very fortunate to make a living behind them.
That's awesome. I heard about you from a lot of friends that talk about your tintype work.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so that's what originally got me interested in checking you out and having you on here. I was curious, like, how did you get into doing the tintype stuff?
Tintype stuff. I mean, that sort of just happened because I've always been a very tactile guy. I really enjoy building things, making things, creating things, and being hands-on about kind of the creation of things.
Okay.
Initially, when I started photography, sort of in a more serious pursuit, or I guess even the original origins of how I became interested in photography was still when, film was the standard, and I thought working in the darkroom and making prints was fascinating and things like that. And I ended up going to school, and obviously, as you're probably familiar, being an analog guy, the amount of stuff and space it can sometimes take to do analog. So much, right? So I got done school and went traveling, shot a ton of film, ended up working in photography, shooting for a lot of magazines and doing a bit of commercial work, etc. Okay. And then I ended up finding my way into film. And in film, where I ended up sort of landing myself into and specializing in was the world of visual effects, but not behind-the-scenes visual effects, on-set visual effects work.
Okay.
And so by that, what I mean, we would set up my cameras that would aid and abet the three-dimensional motion capture process, or I would help out shooting photographs of different textures or actors or props or et cetera, things that would create basically digital assets that could be reanimated for films later. And I was doing this for a number of large films that were taking place around down here. And then simultaneous to doing that, in tandem, I was still shooting as many kind of editorial assignments, portraiture work, and commercial work as I could. And eventually, the film thing sort of just became really full-blown for me, like 2 years where I was in it and, ended up just working myself up through that department and gaining more responsibility. And, obviously, like I described, the tactility and hands-on factor of photography was really appealing to me. And just in general, just building things and making things and stuff like that. And I do love a challenge, though, and I love learning new things. And so this was fascinating to me to be a part of this world of visual effects and making, and got to experience pretty gnarly things. But what happened was I got contracted to do a film in Texas, and right before the film, when I was supposed to fly down there and begin my contract working for this company, Weta, and I ended up having it kind of cancel on me. And
oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, whatever. Like if you're in this game, like you don't count your eggs till they hatch.
That's true. Yeah.
And everyone can rah promise a nice game and say, oh, this is gonna be, it's like, look, buddy, like that's great, and I'm 100% committed to this thing, but rug pulls are real. You want to be a photographer, prepare to have things dissipate the moment before they actualize every now and again. So whatever, you roll with the punches. Interestingly enough, like, yeah, I just kind of all of a sudden didn't have my next job or anywhere to really go and what direction to drift in. But, I just, was like, all right, well, what am I going to do now with my time? Like, now I don't have to fly to Texas, and,
Yeah.
I don't have to go and do this job. And they actually had to pay me a severance package to
Well, that's kind of a nice bonus. Like, they still had to pay you, even though you didn't get to do the cool thing you thought you were going to do.
Right. Obviously, I would have loved to, follow through on the contract and finish it out. But it afforded me that unique combination of, I guess, like time and money, right?
Okay.
Where all of a sudden you're like, okay, like I got a bit of time on my hands before like whatever, the next thing I'm going to do plays out. And so I decided as a personal project to just kind of go back to those roots because I'd gone so far into the zeros and ones and kind of visual effects world that I was like, oh, well, let's just, jump back to the OG sort of thing. And I was fascinated by tintype. Me and you, before we actually got on the mic, we were having a quick conversation about a certain type of analog film.
Yeah, well, when you were talking about the analog stuff, I was being like, yeah, we were just talking about Type 55 Polaroid, which
really jumping the gun. Should have saved that for the mic, but yeah, we were talking about
that
right?
like that's.
And what draws you to that? Like, what draws you to Type 55?
Well, I mean, so I've just got like a deep love for Polaroid in general, but Type 55 was just interesting. The story behind it is fascinating because it happened because Ansel Adams.
Oh yeah, no shit.
Yeah, so Ansel was on payroll at Polaroid.
Oh, no way.
So Edwin Land would like get him to try out new films and like different concepts, bounce ideas off of him and stuff. And he's like, yeah, this toy of yours is kind of cool, but without a negative, it's kind of bullshit. And that's how Type 55 happened because Ansel wanted a negative. So Polaroid gave him one.
Well, I always loved, personally, the imperfections of your Type 55, right?
Yeah.
The beauty was in the awkward, uneven chemical developments you might find and things like that,
Well, this is the beauty of Polaroid. Like,
Exactly.
I've recently just started getting into 8x10 Polaroid.
Oh,
and,
boy. That's cool. Well, let's talk about that later. That's fascinating.
It's so much fun. I picked, like, my friend Henry sold me his Deerdorf 8x10 last week.
Very dope. Okay, so this is a new rabbit hole you're diving down.
Well, so it's a rabbit hole that I've been planning for years.
Oh, yeah.
So I bought the processor and all the like accoutrement to do it when I was leaving Toronto 2 years ago, but didn't have a camera up until
I was about to say,
this week.
You got to have the proprietary processor and stuff.
Yeah,
like that,
so it's just tucked in over there, and the special film holders and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
We had an open studios here last month, something like that. I rented an 8x10 from Beau Photo and was doing portraits here.
Oh, cool, man.
And I was like, okay, I need to fucking buy it.
Yeah, it's a romantic format to work in, 100%.
It is. And I've been playing with 4x5, like leading up to getting into something bigger. And, it's fun. Now I'm just trying to debate, like, if I want to haul it all down with me when I go to Texas at the end of the month for Polacon.
Yeah, I know all about that. Polacon, I'm learning here.
Yeah, so it's interesting talking about Polaroid. So there's a whole convention that happens every year in Denton, Texas.
I guess that's Tintype folk also have something.
Tintype,
Tintype
for a couple of years we had Tintype people there. So there's a Dallas native, Ellen Wishart, who has like a portable Tintype studio on a trailer. And she uses like an Ansco 8x10 for all of her work. Beautiful camera and beautiful studio. Like she hand built it all herself.
Nice.
And her tintypes are wonderful. And then for a couple of years, my friend Brian Giesbrook out in Chicago, he would haul down all of his gear.
Oh, yeah. It's an effort. It's a massive effort.
He had these gnarly lights that were like the sun shitting in your face to make the picture work. And
That's pretty accurate. Were they continuous lights?
No, they were just like a big boom.
Strobe, yeah,
it was like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Just like and it felt like you got an instant sunburn from it.
Oh yeah.
And then the first year I went in 2018, the Project Barbatype guys were there, and those guys were pretty cool because they insist on using like the cyanide development
Oh,
because
right,
in
right.
their mind it like makes a better picture.
Yeah, it makes it creamier. I'll give it that much.
Yeah.
It makes it like it makes it a bit of a sepia tone that's a little more intense. But like,
Yeah. But they're like,
but
it's
you
also
can just,
super
it
toxic.
can also
and-
just kill you. So
Yeah,
you know,
and
like I care about the quality of my photographs, but let me tell you, like,
you don't want to kill someone.
no, I
Yeah.
don't want to kill someone. I don't want to kill myself. I definitely don't want to kill anyone's dog. You know, like
Oh shit, I didn't think of dogs.
I always think of the dogs.
I'm surprised that they never killed anyone, honestly, because most of the times when they do their
the thing is,
tintypes would be at trade shows and stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, to reel it back a little bit, it's not necessarily that deadly in the format that actually processes
That's fair.
photographs. It's just that if you hold the raw chemical itself at your studio in a powderized format for any reason, and you don't have it mixed into its diluted liquid form, which is what you actually use to develop the tintypes,
Yeah.
then, my friend, you might have a problem. So there's, you know, and in fact, sulfuric acid is also one of the main components of tintypes in terms of how I chemically composite a lot of the things. And so if you have sulfuric acid actually mix with cyanide, I can't remember what it forms, but it's basically like a deadly poison cloud.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah, you know, that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's-
Chloroform or something. I don't know. It's bad. It's bad.
it's like it's
So,
it's the bad stuff.
Like, you
don't
know, that's
want
cool and all. I appreciate their purism, I guess. But, like, at the end of the day, like, we're talking about, like, it is such a minute difference if you go and you watch people who do, like, the side-by-side comparisons. I'm like, dude, like, I mean, like, that's cool and all, but, like, you know, I'm just going to, like, minimalize the amount of, like, overhead and risk I have to take. Just, you already have to.
Well, and
buy a
not
ton of
to be like
chemicals.
totally ignorant or anything, but like I had one done by Ellen, one done by Brian, and one by the Barbatype guys, and I didn't see a difference.
100%, my man. I do this all the time. I see a lot of them, and I can tell you for a fact, there's never been once where I'm like, oh, you should have fixed it. Cyanide. No one ever says that. You're just gonna. I'm gonna either in my mind like look like.
But it's like you get to
anyone
be
who
like,
shows me a tintype that I shot, though, honestly, number one thing I'm like is like, congratulations. You know, like when I was first trying to start getting into this, I messaged a guy and I asked him. I was like, hey, you know, like what's up? Like I'm gonna get into tintype. You know, I was wondering if I can like pick your brain about it, right? And the guy messaged me back a response that I now have personally adopted, where because you get these messages a lot.
yeah,
And he basically says to me, he's like, look, buddy, you show me a tintype that you have shot, and I don't care if it's the worst fucking tintype in the world. As long as you personally crafted it, I'm willing to take the time and sit down and talk with you about stuff, right? But, like, if you think that, like, I'm going to take the time to sit down with every Joe Schmo, and then this was, you know, and I, like, honestly, I was like, oh, well, I respected his response at the time as well. I was like, yeah, man, like, if you don't just, I was going to sit down with every single fucking Joe Schmo who, like, messaged me being like, yo, like,
that's gonna be a lot. Yeah.
yeah, he's like, look, but like this is, and like I talked with him about it, like, because like I was like, all right, no problem, dude. Like I get my chemicals like in 3 days, and I can have this thing done in 5. Like next day, I'll have some images for you, 100%. And all. And I just want to talk, you know, and I just want to pick his brain about like the overview of what I was about to try and accomplish. You know, I wasn't,
Yeah.
you know, but no, he's a cool dude. Once we bridge that gap and stuff. You know. Anyways, I guess I'll finish too. Especially just tying up how I ended up like getting into tintype. So yeah, I had that situation happen, and I just wasn't in the world of visual effects. I had that time and money bubble, and I ended up, you know, sort of just spontaneously just being like, you know what, hey, like I want to, you know, pursue this tintype thing, which has sort of just been like, you know, floating around in the back of my brain for a bit, but I still like hammered down the world of visual effects that I couldn't like really allocate enough mental space to it.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it was gonna be full blown. Although I did have some plans to hypothetically get the chemicals together when I was in Austin to try and start doing it. In addition, there's a guy who's like a phenomenal portraitist out of Austin who does tintypes.
Oh wow, who's that?
His name's Adrian.
Adrian.
I don't know him actually.
Okay.
I just like. He's just a dude out of Austin who shoots tintypes. He has a mobile tintype studio next to a bar called Justin's Brasserie. And like I just saw all the work he's doing. I thought it was phenomenal. And I thought initially when I got to Austin, I was like, oh, I'm going to go see this guy. I'm going to go get my tintype done by him, you know, shake his hand, and, you know, congratulations, thanks for keeping this alive. And then I just would consider from that point trying to undertake it. But then once I lost that position in film, I no longer always wanted to Texas. It's just like, well, I mean, like, let's go, let's do this, right? And there's no one else really, like, no one else around was really doing it. Like, in fact, it took over. It was like I was like 2.5 years down the road of doing tintypes till I ever saw another human make a tintype in real life. I'd never seen it done.
Really?
Never. I'd never seen it done. When I started undertaking the process of teaching myself how to do tintype, I'd never once in real life seen another human make a tintype.
You got to come to Policon then.
Well, I mean, it's way too late now. Now I'm the guy. Now I'm the guy where everyone has seen me do it. I'm just saying that it's weird because you know, like you usually, like, it's like, you know, it's like it's a lot easier to learn how, like, you know, skateboard or BMX if you see other people doing it.
Exactly,
Like
you can
that,
kind of
know.
see.
This other Adrian guy, he was actually a BMXer as well, and
nice.
I'm not really so much of a BMXer now, but back in the day, you know, I loved bikes, loved dirt jumps, most importantly, shaping and building things. Right? And he too is like a ex-BMX dirt jumper, and I feel like somehow his images first mitigated their way into my life through the feed of a BMX dirt jump spot that was legendary here in Vancouver that was getting torn down, I think, perhaps. I can't remember where it was, but it was almost a BMX dirt jumping tintype. I think it was the first thing that brought me into his world. And then I realized that was more his passion project, tintypes, and you know, he just ran like a portrait studio, and like that was his main thing.
That's pretty cool. Oh, it's down there. That sounds like a wild trip getting into the tintypes there.
Yeah, and then I just got to it, and then I found actually a super cheap 8x10 camera on Craigslist, like the next day after I conceptualized the idea.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
No. Well, I mean, I could. I mean, I don't want to go through like cameras and the ones I bought and for what price, but let me tell you, it was when I was young. I spent what I thought was a lot on cameras, and it ain't nothing on what they are now. You know,
It's bonkers
like, wow.
now. Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's it's heavy. You know, I know it was weird because I just hit up Craigslist and I was like, oh yeah, you know, and I typed in just like 8x10 camera. It's like my first search, right? And it was like boom, like this one popped up. Like, oh yeah, 8x10 Cambo.
Oh, like the rail cam then.
Yeah, rail cam. I like
Those are
that.
good.
Well, it's phenomenal when you work in portraiture. I mean, you can actually do it with the Deerdorf to a certain extent, but in portraiture, a lot of people don't even realize that the 8x10 cameras can move like this. But like, if you're ever doing portraiture, come by one time if you have a camera set up, I'll show you how to do it. You'll notice that in the framing, sometimes you want very small increments forwards or backwards.
Yeah.
But the amount that lenses usually, quote, breathe an image on an 8x10 is actually quite dramatic. So small movements with the re-racking of the focus can create pretty dramatic framing differences.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? So have you ever used your 8x10 camera, and this is why the rail system is so sweet, to roll both the back standard and the front element forwards or backwards together in unison at the same time?
I haven't done it in unison, but I was playing with, I've got a 240 or something that I got for my 4x5, but it just was, I never really liked it on there.
It's more just gear talk, which is boring nerd stuff. But yeah, like
but I was playing with it on
camera,
here.
it's nice because I do a lot of portraiture, and if I ever need to like move my camera in or outwards up to 4 inches, it's a real pain to relocate your sticks with an 8x10 because they're quite large, etc.
Yeah, but
So
you can move the whole thing.
Yeah, you can just take both the back element and front element and move them forward. And your Deerdorf will do that too, but only to a degree of about 3 inches. But it's incredibly useful if you're trying to frame a perfect portrait on the fly.
It's interesting how the trays work on it because it's like it's got three spans that can come out.
3 gear system rack pinions.
It was funny when Henry was like, he's been teasing me about it for like a year now.
Yeah.
Like, and he invited me over to his place the other week to properly dissuade me from buying it. Like he was torturing me about it. He's like, all right, do this with it. Now do that with it. See how the knobs feel really rough when you're trying to use them. He was trying to make the experience seem really bad. And it just made me want the camera even more. Like, you know, after like a couple of hours of like going back and forth, he's like, I hope I've properly discouraged you from wanting to purchase this camera.
Yeah, part of the part that attracted me to that too was the use of large format cameras. It's just fascinating tools.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And I've always been curious about Deerdorfs, just because of the lore around them. Like
the old Avedon lore. Eh?
Yeah.
I scratched that itch early in college, and then I realized that in fact, a 8x10 camera is nothing more than a box.
Oh, it's just a box.
It's just a box. Hey, but that being said, deer doors they're very stylish.
They're pretty, and I like the story around it because like Henry was he did a lot of work with like Stan Douglas and Rodney Graham, Dana Claxton, a bunch of other like folks there, and that was mostly with an 11x14 Deerdorf, which he sold a while back. And that thing looked he showed me pictures of it being used. It was on 2 tripods. There's one for the rear standard, one for the front standard.
No, you should see these cameras that all these tintypists are building too. I mean, tintypists because you can only contact print tintypes, right? So your capture plane needs to be as large as like the tintype you're about to shoot. So people get pretty nutty with it, you know. People get really nutty with the cameras they build. I think it's really becomes just kind of a rich man's game in a major prospectus at that point. It's not so much just like shooting the tintypes, that's no problem. It's more just like the back end of like, what are you gonna do with all these 2 foot by 2 foot tintypes? You know, storing them. All of a sudden you're gonna need like, oh yeah, you gotta have like entire massive studio spaces or garages like full just to like properly store them.
Well, and trophy plate's not light.
No, and I personally shoot on like stuff that's much thicker than most tintypists as well.
What do you shoot on?
I don't know what it's called per se, but it's just kind of like, it's just thicker, you know?
Okay.
It's just this like thicker, it's the same stuff. It's still just like, trophy.
Just a thicker.
Trophy plate aluminum, but I just get it thicker. And it's double-sided blacked. It's double-sided black gloss. Most people shoot on a very thin one.
With single side.
Single side black gloss. I go for a double side black gloss, and it's about 3 times as thick as usual. They're super rigid. Yeah, they tactily feel phenomenal. It costs me a lot more money to shoot them, to be honest. And like, I don't know. It's just, to me, the experience is so much nicer, especially feeling them and holding them. They just have like a great bit. Plus, if you ever peel a plate, other tintypists will know what I'm talking about here. Sometimes the residue of the vacuum seal can stick to the plate and it can create a completely uneven surface that will show through in the collodion. And through the double-sided, it just gives me the ability to have 2 shots at getting a perfect black side because you only got to shoot on one side.
Oh, like when you peel the plastic off of the...
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, you've seen a couple tintypes go.
Yeah, I've seen a couple. Before the world ended, I was going to head to Chicago. There's a guy there, Doug Hansen, that will teach you how to do tintype.
He'll teach you how to Dougie.
Yeah, but he's like, it's going to suck.
Really? That's not... Well, honestly, the thing is like, getting taught tintypes is almost like if someone rolled up to you, right, and they're like, yo, man, like, I will teach you how to drive a car for like $1,000, right? That's usually what like a tintype workshop costs or something, $600. I don't know.
His was a lot cheaper, but he was basically like, I teach you how to do it, and then I make you do it until you hate it.
Okay, well, that guy sounds like a lot of fun to party with.
Yeah, he's a really cool dude. And like my friend Brian, that's who he learned off of. So I was like super excited about that, and then fucking COVID happened.
Oh,
and,
weird, yeah.
You know, I moved back here, so.
Well, I think it's just like once you know, though, the thing is like so much of knowing is in the preparation of the chemicals. So unless they make you just like boom, do it all from scratch and like make you mix all the chemicals, it's more just like dealing with unknown problems that you can't really foresee in like a controlled workshop setting. That's the most difficult. It's almost like it to me at least. But this is more so just me speaking on my personal way of how I like to learn and do things and immerse myself in tasks that I'm trying to accomplish. It's like if someone walked up to me and was like, look, like, you know, for example, I know that right before I began learning tintype, a tintype workshop did come through town. I only found out later through a friend, Ross, who also shoots tintypes. And yeah, for the price point of said tintype workshop, you can afford all the chemicals you would need to start, as well as a 4x5 camera at that time. Now, not so much, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, like this is like someone coming up and being like, I'll teach you how to drive for like $900. But once you know how to drive, you don't own a car. Versus, you can buy like a busted Civic that's all clapped out for like 900 bones, you know? And you can hit the lot, and you're gonna figure this out. And once it's done, you're gonna have that busted ass Civic to go and start getting it with, you know? Like, you'll be all right. Dude,
I gotta say, I miss busted ass Civics.
Yeah, you know what? And the best was when like it was just busted ass Civics of like those like Civic SIs, you know, with the Spooner engine.
I used to call them angry bumblebees because they'd be like.
I grew up in Oshawa, Ontario.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Do you know a thing about Oshawa? You seem familiar up here.
Well, I lived in Toronto for 5 years
Yeah,
before moving
alright.
back here, and I spent some time in the Schwa.
Once Fast and the Furious hit, it was never the same, bro.
So I
Just
went.
the most Integras and Civics and glow kits. Man, the amount of glow can. Would they mod the engine? No. Side skirts and glow kits all day.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
need to go fast when you look good.
Yeah.
Like that's the.
Everyone knows that.
I grew up in a small town in the Kootenays, and a lot of the students we had in our school were international students
Nice.
because the school district figured out that's how they could make money.
Okay, well, word.
But that also meant there was a lot of ricers
Yeah.
in my school,
Yeah.
and it caught on with everyone. Everyone wanted a Civic or like an Integra
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Prelude, and like they all had the coffee can exhausts, and
100%. I
the
remember
Mugen stickers. And
dudes at my school were literally taking their Civics and like pulling them up to semi trailers that were parked like close by to see if they could get them under the semi trailer.
Fast and
Yeah,
the
yeah, I swear. I saw it one day. I saw them trying to nose under. They're like, it ain't gonna happen.
Well, yeah, so that was a total like lie. Like that was movie magic because like they made them really low profile,
I
but
mean,
then also they
like,
jacked up the semi truck.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
whatever.
like-
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but like, you know.
And that's why they shot it at night too, so it wasn't as obvious that they did all that kind of shit. Like,
Try
but-
and tell that to the smooth brain kids I went to high school with, you know.
Yeah, Vin Diesel would never lie to me.
Yeah, but
Like,
never.
I can't believe how long that franchise has lasted.
Hey, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
No, I actually canceled my photography program in high school the year before I was like eligible to enter it, so that kind of just passed me right by, you know.
See, I skipped it, and I kind of that's something I regret because a good friend of mine, we went to high school. Yeah, she's a photographer here, Dawn Stenzel.
Okay.
She was like super heavy into that shit, and basically like the only one that had the dark room because like no one else wanted to do it. And she was like, "Hey, you should try that." I'm like, "Whatever, nerd. I'm gonna get drunk on the weekend." And there's a big part of me that sort of regrets not jumping into that because like, there's like a large chunk of time that I missed out on where I could have spent more time with Polaroid or could have done this or that.
Yeah.
But I ended up going like the digital route for a long time, and didn't find the analog stuff until I moved to Toronto in 2017.
For me, it was just like, it's kind of happened to me in a sense where, well, like I was mentioning BMX kids, right?
Yeah.
My brother liked to, shred bicycles, still do to a certain degree. And, my dad kind of photographed himself, not in any professional sense, but like, always had the camera. This is back in the day where like, shooting photographs, it didn't just fucking happen. You got an iPhone. Like,
No, you had to like put work
I
into
had
it.
to carry the camera, take the shit to Black's Canadian Development Lab.
I miss
National.
Black's.
Yeah, I take it to Black's. These guys would develop the film. I remember one time, we were supposed to be like going to the skate park in like Cleveland, and
because you were in Oshawa.
it's not too far, right?
Yeah,
whatever.
that's not far at
But
all.
anyways, we went to the skate park, and like it was a skate park we used to go to a bunch. It was called Changa World. It was really sick. And within like 30 minutes of getting there, for some reason, like all of us just like hurt ourselves badly. We're like, oh man, let's go home. For some reason, on the way home, we hit Pennsylvania, and one of my friends, like Brett or Anthony or something, was like, we were at like, it's like a Matt Simon. For some reason, we were just like, yo, let's just drive to New York City,
When you're all like hurt and busted, you're like, let's
yeah,
go to
and
New
it's
York.
like, it's like 10 o'clock at night. We're on like,
Why not?
just listening to probably like some stupid emo music because that's what kids did back then, right? Like Death
Yeah,
Cab for
exactly.
Cutie, I don't know, right? Anyways, yeah,
It's actually kind of fun. A bunch of skate kids driving to New York listening to
I
Death
don't know.
Cab.
I don't know.
I
Actually,
like-
no. I actually do remember what we were listening to on that trip, and for some reason, it was like a lot of like Wyclef Jean. For some particular reason, we had like a lot of that going on because that was back. in the
Wyclef
day.
was the shit
Well,
back
yeah,
then.
well, I mean, it's still he holds it down, but like
Yeah,
I'm
he
just saying
does.
that was back when you had them. Anyways, we drove all the way to New York City like overnight for no apparent reason, like parked our car like right near Times Square. We had no idea where we were. I remember like I just thought it was fascinating. I was just like, man, the energy in New York is sick as fuck, like this place rules. And like just like got back in the car and then just like booked it home for some reason because we're like, yeah, we gotta stay tight on our timelines, like pretend like we're at the skate park the whole time or something, right? And I had my dad's film camera, just kind of shooting photos of my friends BMXing and being on these road trips. It was like how it started, because my dad had these great photo albums. And I remember it was like, all of a sudden I used to love looking through them, and I was like, well, shit, like if I don't start shooting photos myself, because like my brother got a driver's license, which is what enabled us to do all these hooligan dumb things.
Yeah.
I was like, well, like, because he used to drive his skate park, and he used to shoot the photos. And then like my brother got a driver's license, and I was like, well, if like I want like a continuity of this story, kind of like how you were saying,
keep it going.
yeah, if you're missing those like immortalized moments, I guess if you want to interpret it like that. Yeah, you were just like, I got to keep it going. And so I remember I just like borrowed like one of my dad's old Rebel cameras or something, and like started just like copping film, and so I shot a bunch of photos in New York. I remember we didn't tell him, we just tried to play it off like he'd never gone. And I gave him all the film, right? And I was like, yeah, I developed this fucking film, right?
He's like, what the fuck are you doing in New York?
Right, so he takes it to blacks, just like takes it to blacks and gives the film all to them, and like they just like basically take it and go and develop it, and then he like takes a peek at the photos after it dies. Man, like, are they trying to make Cleveland look like New York? Like, what's going Anyways, the truth came out.
That's almost like a lost my wallet in El Segundo kind of story.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was like the film told all the lies. It was the facts, but.
Yeah, but it's cool to have like those memories behind it.
Yeah, it was sweet, and like I think that's maybe, since you're obviously an analog warrior, and obviously to a degree I am as well. I feel like almost like these days it's almost just what I do professionally. Mm-hmm. It's like I help people have things like I was inspired through my dad's work and my dad's photography. Have this own personal photo album that was so tangible, and every time I go fucking home, I can go and look up on the bookshelf, and it'll be labeled chronologically by a year. And I can pull one out, and I can be like, boom, like that's what my bitch ass and all of my friends looked like at that period in time, right?
That's
and it's
super
so
cool.
easy to just, washes you by so slowly that you don't realize until the gapping of time has occurred. And now, that's literally what I do professionally, is that like I help people have that small fraction of what that's like in their life. Because so many people, and myself included, besides the fact that I shoot tintype, so many people can shoot a million digital photographs and have like,
yeah, but where do they go?
Exactly, and there's just like a million posts on the IG. Like, you don't get that same feeling of being like hit with a instant flood memory by like actively going back in your timeline. It's not like a random memory recall. You know what I mean? That's not just like, oh shit, like I just saw that. Like everyone knows what it's like to go home and like be going through their old like closet and you pull out those photographs, and you don't have that expectation of what you're going to see. But when you usually reverse your timeline, a lot of people are like, a lot of people are looking for something. They're trying to find something that's come to their mind already. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you'd have that like random memory recall that's so exciting and so refreshing to bring you back to like untapped memories, unless you have a physical print. And even with
something to hold. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like I think that's fun for me to be like realizing now that I'm just doing that in a professional scale, where I'm allowing people to have these very physical, very permanent, very tangible memories for life.
That's kind of like why that's sort of why I like Polaroids. Is
I got this SX70. This thing is tricked out for all the radio listeners out there.
This one's actually pretty cool. So
checking this baddie out. This thing's got a see-through front.
Yeah, a pal of mine in Texas, Zane Pollard. He made this thing for me.
I follow some guys who fix cameras on Instagram, and I think it's so fascinating.
He might be one of them.
Oh, there you go.
So Retrospect makes the case, but Zane built this bad boy for me. Because the SLR 680s only ever came in black. So this is an SX70 sonar with the guts from a 680, and then he put a split prism focus screen in there for like doing the manual focus.
Next level stuff, dog. Right now I'm doing a lot of wiring at home. I'm actually building a photo booth from scratch right now. Not an analog one. My ones I currently own are analog photo booths, Model 17 autophotos. I'm fascinated, and I love that format. I love what it puts out.
That's the one that you have up at...
the one that I have up at Heroes Welcome, yeah. And that's the one where I actually did this mod to it. We're the first person ever to have done it, which is wild. I couldn't believe no one had ever done this before.
What did you do with it?
I cut a hole in the goddamn side of it, and then I put a darkroom bulb on the inside of it, and then I made a window out of what's called rubyless, with only lets light or photo light safe wavelengths through it.
Oh.
And there's basically an interior illuminated darkroom safe bulb that allows you to look through a darkroom safe window.
And
you
see
can
what's going on.
Yeah, man, you can see this whole thing like make the strips, right?
Shit.
And you can see because what that process is. It's find my light here, losing it. Oh. Yeah. So what that is like it's a photo reversal process, right? Where it's actually a giant cine roll of paper, and the way those work is it shoots it through a lens, bounces it off a mirror, and it exposes it directly onto a sheet of paper.
Okay.
And then very similar to like classic X-ray development chemicals. In fact, X-ray development chemicals can do the job of the developer. It's a color reversal process where essentially I'm just like doing a color reversal. So instead of getting a negative, I get a positive print on a piece of paper.
Oh, wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it's on my Instagram, actually, I do have like a story highlight or whatever where it's my the interior of the booth at work and me doing the mod to the booth. But right now I'm doing something different where I'm actually I'm building digitally gutted or digital internal booths that I personally think stay true to the spirit of what a photo booth should be as closely as possible, because you cannot buy it. Where I'm building them, where one, they're strobe actuated, so they pop. I think that's a very important part of the experience.
You gotta have the pop.
Yeah, everyone's repping all these LED continuous lights. That's whack. Yeah, no, I need a pop. I need a slab. So I'm making a pop. I'm making it so they don't have any screens in them, that they have the setback camera that projects itself through a black window that you can see your reflection on. You can have two buttons that just make it so it only shoots color or black and white. Those are your only choices.
Huh.
And it's going to spit out frames that are as close as possible to what I consider like a really acceptable digital strip format of memory creation, just because the paper for these analog photo booths is only made in Russia. Actually, it's the only place in the world they make it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's become an issue.
So, yeah, because I was curious about the paper. So is it positive paper or it's... I'm
just looking at these comments, seeing if I... Grossman, 13.
I love you too, Emily. We're talking about next time you're in Vancouver, we can talk about camera stuff. It's an old friend from high school.
Word up, I am. What's up, Emily?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Russia's the only place that you can get.
Russia's the only place in the world that makes the paper that it goes inside of these photo booths, and that's become a big issue.
You should like email Ilford and be like, "Yo, what's it?"
We, as in the community,
Ilford was like, "Nah,
hook it up." No, not yet. I mean, like, honestly, we can still kind of get this stuff, and it's still sort of possible. It's just like, obviously, the price is going up on us, and it's really, it's just funny and frustrating. I don't even want to go and launch into the story of how this stuff is acquired now. It's pretty complicated. I got told by somebody else, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, that sounds a little sketchy.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that's sort of another side component of my world as well. Camera guy, like it. That's been fast. Once again, building stuff, making physical hard copy memories.
Well, and those things are so cool. Like the only other one I've ever seen was at the Parkside in San Francisco.
Oh yeah,
they've got like an old analog photo booth.
They're having a mad resurgence right now. All these like famous people are clapping onto them and stuff.
Well, maybe they can get Ilford to make some paper.
Yeah, no, like one of the Kardashians has one at her house.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah, totally, right. And
after they ruin contacts,
yeah, that's hey, no, that was whatever. I had a couple of those back in the day. I have destroyed, in today's dollar value, so many thousands of dollars worth of point and shoots, it would make most people just disgusted. In fact, the way I treat most of my cameras disgust people.
But they're tools. Like,
correct.
You can't just baby them.
Correct.
Like, you
exactly
use them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely love destroying cameras. That's like my favorite thing.
It means you're working.
Yeah, work would be a bold term for sometimes what I'm up to when I destroy these bad boys. But, we out there. No.
It makes for good stories.
No, I had somebody chastise me the other day because I was like snowboarding with my Leica.
So?
And I was like, I can't believe you would do that with the camera. I was like,
what, am I supposed to just put it on my mantelpiece? And
these things were designed for war photography before like hipsters appropriated them as the new Rolex. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And like so many people use them for all sorts of crazy shit.
Oh, yeah,
like,
and they're bulletproof.
you know?
I've had that thing. Speaking of like film repair guys, I'm really we as a Vancouver community owe a lot to Horst. You ever
So I've not met him, but I have heard stories about him.
downright ledge? Respect to Horst. I don't think he's working anymore, so you might have a hard pressed time meeting him.
Someone was telling me that like they would go in to talk with him, and he'd be like working away, and then on like a screen to the side would just be like the most hardcore porn. Just that's how he got his inspiration, apparently.
I mean, honestly, I'm not asking how he does it. I'm just
whatever
like,
tunes you in.
whatever you be up to. I mean, he was cool. He'd always sit down and trade stories. And he's a gnarly dude, man. Like, and he was full of jus de vie. You know what I mean? I liked him. He always just called me rock star. I don't know if he. I don't know why he's like, hey, rock star. He's like, just bring him like it's just like full of sand, like stuff like that. And he was all like, wow, you did it again. No, he was the guy who like pushed me into buying an M6. So I used to have a Leica CL, which was like,
the not Leica.
I mean, it's Leica enough for me, dog. Whatever.
It says Leica on it.
Yeah, sure.
And you didn't have the Minolta CLE, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it didn't make a difference to me. I just like rangefinders and like.
Yeah, they're great.
No, just all my heroes were all rangefinder doggos. At the time I was like really big like Brisson, Elliot Erwitt kind of guy, and like I just all the Magnum shooters I thought were ledges, and
and all my favorite skateboard photographers use them too. So
oh yeah,
like,
well I mean yeah. Who are your favorite skateboard photographers?
Ed Templeton. He's a big one. Ray Barbie. Jason Lee. Raymond Molnar. He's got some really cool stuff too.
Yeah. I ran into randomly at a park in Oregon. I was just tripping down the coast in 2015, and the Vans team was there. And I had my Hasselblad with me. Anyways, I ended up taking a photo of, Arto.
Yeah, that guy's awesome too.
Yeah, 100% dog. I just like clocked him because I mean, like, I'm not like good with like, I'm not even good with like famous people's faces, let alone like, like whatever. Like BMX people, I probably like recognize just because like that was like. Those were my heroes growing up. But, like, I'm not going to clock famous skaters. So I don't really, clock any skaters. But, like, I do clock Arto just because I am a big fan of his work. And he was, part of, like, the, quote, Leica fraternity. We all like to be
fun, exactly.
Cliquish assholes. It's like Porsche people, right? Whatever.
So with the whole Leica fraternity thing, I never really understood the whole Leica sort of thing until
doesn't vibe you.
A friend loaned me one.
Oh, yeah.
I had his M3 for like a year.
It's like for people who like drive stick shift cars.
Dude, I was kind of angry about it because I'm like, now I need to fucking buy one of these.
No, I lent my friend one for like a year, and he returned it, and the lens was trashed.
See, that's the thing. So he loaned it to me with a 50 mil Summicron, and I got a little scared of breaking the lens because I'm like, the lens is worth more than the body on the M3. So I ended up buying my own Voigtlander to use with it because then I'm like, I'll feel less bad if I break my own lens. Like the body I can get repaired.
Yeah, that's cool of you. Honestly, I was upset because this guy wouldn't even admit it at the end.
What?
Nah, it was whatever. I don't even care. You don't lend people stuff without expecting that, like, Like
but usually people like step up and like,
I ended up having to trash the lens actually.
Oh damn.
Yeah, such is life. It lived a good life. I still have it disassembled, and I like.
You should frame it.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool actually.
Yeah, and then just like put whatever you're afraid the cost of friendship.
Whatever, man. Yeah, no, because that's the thing. It's like it's cool that somebody like you want because they are so stupidly unobtainable now.
They kind of are. Like
I personally, if I was like approaching the world of photography at this junction in time, like that was my congratulations to myself for feeling like I had become like a adequate professional photographer. Right? It's like after I managed to like absolutely tooth nail like scrap. I think we were discussing that outside earlier.
Yeah.
Like after I'd absolutely like. Quote, I think the kids call it bootstrap my way into a situation where like, I was like, all right, word, like I got like a couple lenses and a computer and it takes so much overhead to just get going and like meanwhile it's like no one's even paying you nothing when you're starting and
yeah, it's a tough go.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And like I remember once I felt like I like by no means like retrospectively speaking like was I like doing like phenomenal, but I was just like I always wanted an M6 just because that's what all the ledges were repping. Right? And like
with the red dot.
Yeah, I can live without the red dot. That doesn't bother me at all. But what I did want a TTL because I'm all about ergonomics, and that thing shoots so much better with its perfectly flush dial to the front plate.
It's a beautiful camera.
Having a recessed dial. Anyways, Found one for like $1,200 on Craigslist, and like at the time just like had the money. And I remember I had bought in like maybe like earlier that year or the year before like a Canon 7D, right? Just as like my jump start camera, so I could sell that and get a Mark 5D or whatever. Anyways, I remember I had to pay like $1,600 for that 7D. And then I got this M6 for $1,200, and now like in the future that just blows my mind. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, they're going for like a cheap one's like $3,600, but like average is like 42, $5,000. Like it's
the TTL, so like 5
fucking bonkers.
And you're like, oh, they're nice cameras. Don't get me wrong. Hey, I mean, like, if I was better off when I was younger, I probably would have bought an air-cooled Porsche while I was at it too. So whatever, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, you can buy a house with it now.
There's this one saying that somebody said where, oh fuck, it's so accurate. Where they're just like, look, I'm just waiting for my income to catch up with my taste.
I like that one. That's a really good one. I know you have a time-sensitive thing here. How are you doing for time?
I'm just trying to go and pick up a Tacoma because I don't even know where my phone is.
It's somewhere around here. We're 6:07 right now.
Yeah, we should be all right. I just got to go to Delta. I'm just like,
okay.
This guy should be chill. No, I got to pick up a Tacoma because I have built, for all radio listeners out there, a very complicated, complex cedar cabin on the back of my Tacoma, which has actually just been featured in a book, which has gone to press and is shipping as of like today. Now that I think of it,
like a tiny home book or something.
Yeah. This guy was like a legend of the tiny home books, not just like some like hashtag van life shit. This guy's like, his name's Lloyd Kahn, and he's like owns like a publishing house called Shelter Publications that's been publishing books since like the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
All on like really unique construction and builders. I think one of his most famous books is called Half Acre Homestead. Then he had this book that was published in I think about 2003 or 4 called like Tiny Homes on Wheels. And like I think that book was like incredibly instrumental in like inspiring people to do like a bunch of DIYs. Anyways, he's a legend. And like I submitted our build to him, and he put it in his book, which is a huge, in my opinion, huge honor.
That's incredible.
And I consider that like a massive, just like accomplishment. I think it's just sick. I'm stoked about it because that took a lot of like love and effort from.
When's that coming out?
It's out now, I guess. You can go on Amazon, buy it. It'll ship to you. It's called Lloyd Kahn's Tiny Homes on the Move. I don't know. It's the most recent one.
Okay.
It's got
Lloyd
this
Kahn.
like picture of like a sick Jeep with just like a sheeter singled kind of tiny home built over. It's like because it's like a convertible Jeep, and they built it up over the cab. It's sick. This guy.
That's cool.
This guy's there's just a bunch of cool people. My friend's Kai are in it because she built like this amazingly beautiful like tiny home on the back of an international truck, and she lives up in Squamish. The ugly truckling, I believe.
I think I've seen that one on Instagram.
Yeah. She kind of blew up on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
I don't really love like the idea of like trying to be internet famous or Instagram or TikTok or any of that shit. It's not really my vibe. But right now my goal for the year is to be dumber. That's like my goal.
That's a good goal.
Oh, it is. I overthink a lot of stuff, and I'm like, I'm very analytical, and like, I mean, shit, I shoot so many photos, and I never show anyone. Sometimes I just like drop photos, and I'll have so many people say many lovely things about it. Like, oh, I love this. I wish and that was one of my goals this year. I was like, you just gotta be dumber, man. You just gotta like not think about things. Just
sometimes you just gotta shoot for you.
Yeah. Well, sort of. Me being dumber, I feel like my goal is to think less and just share more, just because I feel like it's my overthinking just sometimes limits me from just being like, yeah, sure, I'll put this out.
I have no idea what overthinking's like at all.
No, brutal. I think a lot.
I struggle with that one a lot. That's a tough one. It's something getting out of your head sometimes is a lot of work.
Yeah. Sometimes that's a big thing. Some people are different, So, yeah, that's what's up, man. Anyway, so that's I guess I don't know. It's a meandering conversation, but that's me, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you got any pointed questions to fire at me before? I
no,
feel like
I think I think this is a good spot here. Like,
Yeah,
it was
well,
interesting to learn more about you,
you know,
and like,
you should come out for a tintype. I'll update your collection.
dude, I would love that.
Yeah, come through.
Yeah.
Come through.
Definitely.
On the house, smash it out for you. You can actually, I guess, actually, if you've made it this far, thanks for listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
whoever's out there.
We can do a swap. I'll do your 8x10 Polaroid.
Okay,
and
cool.
then
You can literally, if you know what though, you probably need a shuttered lens to do it. You don't use shuttered lenses in tintype.
Oh, really?
Well,
You
I mean, you can.
You don't
I mean,
need
I
to.
shoot it all in studio, so I expose with strobe and stuff. And it's so low sensitivity, like 0.5 ISO or less, that most of my lenses are what they call barrel lenses.
Yeah, so
And you
there's no
I just
shutter.
put like a hat over top of it, pull the hat, trigger my strobe, cap the lens again. But I'm sure like you guys would probably require.
Yeah, that's good. Shutter and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, I assisted a guy who used to shoot a bunch of 8x10 Polaroid. Not for very long. I'm trying to remember his name. I remember he shot Britney Spears, and this was like back in 2004. I was living in Chicago. Oh, trying to remember this guy's name again. I remember he like drove a Porsche. Yeah. He was a funny guy. His studio was right on Chicago Avenue, next to this bar called the Leaky Faucet, which I remember I used to have to go to underage with my ID because that's where photo assistants like met
Would go hang out.
photographers, and I was trying to figure it out, And then I don't know how deep of a photo nerd you are, but 8x10 Polaroids remind me of this one guy's name's Paulo Reversi.
No, I haven't heard that one.
Paulo Reversi. If you like 8x10 Polaroid, let me tell you want to tuck into this guy's work. This guy is the god of 8x10 Polaroid.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
He shoots with a 500 mil Dagor lens predominantly. Beautiful soft stuff.
Whoa.
But yeah, he sold a book, or he sold a limited edition print of like 1,000 of this book called Studio by Paulo Reversi. And it was a phenomenal presentation where the book was like a Taschen book or something. And every time you turn the page, I don't know if the new Impossible Polaroid projects are like this, but usually the way a Polaroid would be presented back when Polaroid made them, there's like a black casing that would go over it, that would feed it through the processing machine.
Yeah, so there's still that. You put the frame in with like the dark sheet,
Right.
and then it pokes at the bottom of the film
That's
holder,
right.
and then you pull it out.
And does it feed out and you like open the black thing as a book to reveal what the image is?
Not anymore. So it
That's
used
how
to
it
be,
used to go,
peel
like, yeah.
apart like that.
So that every
Yeah.
single page in this book, when you opened it, was pure black, and it was like you peel the page open to see the Polaroid beneath, and every single page had its own peel and reveal.
That's kind of fucking
Yeah.
cool.
I ended up like saving that book for a short period of time, and then I got done backpacking in like Asia when I graduated university, and got done doing photo assisting, and I had a ton of film because I just didn't have the cash yet to like buy myself a digital camera, and I need to like digitalize all this shit, and I ended up selling that book on Amazon for like, oh god, I bought it for like $160 and I sold it for like 2 G's.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this was like 3 years later. I checked how much they're worth now, and I don't even want to talk about it.
That's
fair. Well, I ended up buying an Imicon FlexTight scanner, like a drum scanner, with that money, which at the time was also a lot cheaper than they are now. So it was kind of
Yeah, that stuff's crazy now.
yeah, totally, man.
Yeah. Well, dude, I appreciate rolling through and hanging out for a bit.
No, I'm glad I could make it. I got to the ferry terminal in Nanaimo today, right? And like, I like just had tossed my bike in the back of my buddy's truck because we were like just booting down from Mount Washington to get back here. Rolled into the ferry terminal, and the person like we get a ticket, and she's like, "Yeah, you're not gonna make it. Good luck."
But then you did.
No, I just like looked at I forced my hand, I just looked at my friends, and I was like, okay, as soon as you like just went whatever lane they tell you to go into, I was like, pull up and then stop, but stop and leave like 6 feet from your nose to the next car. And then I immediately got my friends to just jump out. We just ripped my dirt bike's like street plated, it's like an enduro bike or whatever, right? So I just ripped the motorcycle out of the back. Just like rode over the motorcycles always get on the ferry. There's no such thing as a wait for a motorcycle. So I just, had a motorcycle back home. I was out of gas too, and I ended up scoring some gas off like a Harley rider. So it was a real mission to get here. Got a shower in and made it just in time to be slightly late. So thanks for having me though.
No, dude, definitely.
Yeah, it was a pleasure coming on, and yeah, it's always nice. It's always weird when I just end up just having to talk about what my life has become. I don't ever think about it too much until these things happen.
That's why I like doing this thing, is just like learning more about people and like, you know, what got them into it, what makes them tick, versus like talking about the gear and stuff like that.
We did that
like,
too.
Well, a little bit, like, you know,
Yeah.
it's hard to escape the gear talk sometimes.
A little bit, yeah.
It happens.
You know, especially when you're in the world of just like, you know, beautifully constructed instruments, you know.
Well, they are. They like, you know, that's kind of why I like shooting the old stuff, is like it feels a little different.
Yeah, it's nice.
Which is kind of nice.
People like it. Stay away from that stuff, though, people.
Yeah,
Even for us.
unless you hate
don't want
money.
it. It's terrible. It feels terrible.
Yeah, it's awful. Don't do it. It's not worth what you're gonna spend. But yeah, thank you so much again. I'm gonna let Mr. Mocha walk us out here.
All right, extra.
And yeah, next week, hopefully, Ray Barbie is going to be on. He said he confirmed a while back, but he has not reconfirmed. So next week will either be Ray Barbie, or it'll just be me saying, sorry guys, we'll catch you another time. So till then, I hope you have a good week, and stay out of trouble, and you know, just don't be a dick to each other. All right. Thanks, everyone.